Nithyanandam guys! Welcome back to the Kundalini Yogini. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do so you don't miss out on any content involved with conscious living, spirituality, and yoga in the modern world. So today I'm gonna do a little story time with you guys, and this is something which has been weighing on my heart. And for those of you guys that don't follow me on Instagram, I'll link that down below. It's at Kundalini Yogini Prasiddha. I was recently kind of opening up on my Instagram about what's been going on with my dad in the hospital system. So I decided I really wanted to open up and share some stories with you guys about what I have witnessed firsthand being a part of the hospital system in the United States and the pharmaceutical industry that's connected to it, in experience with my personal family and specifically with my father. So for those of you guys that don't know me, I was raised in Southern California and grew up here my whole life, including my dad and mom both lived here when they were kids too. And my dad has had a lot of health issues in the last 10 years, 15 years especially. Literally so many things that can go wrong with your body, sadly, he's experienced. And a lot of it has been because of lifestyle choices that he's chosen for himself. But a lot of it has just manifested in his body for many different reasons, which I won't go into in this video. But he's gone through things like failure of his kidneys, failure of his pancreas, like every organ in his body shutting down pretty much, having severe back surgery, having issues with addiction to the pain medication that they gave him, among other things, stomach infections, one like super rare stomach infection he's been dealing with lately called C. diff, which is like I guess a very rare stomach disease that is really hard to get rid of and can be very severe. And he's been dealing with that specifically for the past 6 months or so. Now, aside from his, lifestyle choices and all of that, which I know definitely do play a part in his hospitalizations, it's really been mind-blowing to see how the hospital system works. And a lot of you guys who responded to me on Instagram shared that sadly you really resonated with this too, because if you've experienced a loved one being in the hospital, especially when they're on their deathbed or dying or going through a terminal illness like cancer, you have probably seen how broken the system really is in so many ways. And I just wanted to share a few examples of this with you guys, just because I feel like it's a really important topic to break the disillusionment of our society. And I was somebody who grew up trusting every system and every authority figure in my life. I never thought there was a reason to question things, and I never thought systems could be malicious or broken in the ways that I've come to know that they are. And I feel it's really important to talk about these things because they do affect all of us, because we live as a part of the grid. We're living in the system, and it's really important to know what's going on so that not only you can help yourself, but you can help those that you love and just be informed about the other options that do exist also. So back on track. So, okay, I'm just going to share one example with you guys that happened recently. My father has been extremely ill for the past 6 months or so, specifically with this stomach infection I was sharing with you. But among other things, basically so much of his body shutting down, and he has been in and out of the hospital every few weeks for the last 6 months. And at one point this summer, he even was not breathing on his own, and they were thinking he was going to leave the body completely. And I even thought, this is it, like I have to say goodbye to my dad. And anyways, it's been a lot of ups and downs with that, but he's been back in the hospital the last few weeks, and if you guys don't know, I'm back in LA, and it's really good timing in the sense that I am now back home and I get to spend time with him and see him see firsthand what's really been going on behind the scenes. So what I've been seeing is literally hard for me to even talk about, because I really get so furious with the brokenness of it all. So like I said, right, this guy has basically been having organ failure, has not been able to eat solid food in months. Like literally anything he eats, he'll throw it up or have really bad diarrhea. And he's just, everything is going wrong. His body can't process anything. I get to the hospital the very first time when I land back in North America, and I go in to visit him, and he's doing a little bit better that day, and finally he's having a meal. So he's there eating his dinner in the hospital in Newport Beach. It's called Hoag Hospital, by the way. I am calling them out. So I go and see him, and I walk into the room, and you can't even go into the room without putting a gown on, gloves, and a mask because of this infection, like, that he has is seriously that severe. So I walk into the room with my brother, and I see his meal that the hospital has given him, a man with a stomach infection and pretty much full body shutdown, is eating a pepperoni pizza and 2 chocolate chip cookies. Like, I'm sorry, but I seriously, like, have to take a moment of silence because I can't even begin to fathom how any medical professional can sit by and watch that happen and be okay with what they're doing. How taking the Hippocratic Oath and with any type of ethics whatsoever, whether you are not even spiritual at all, not even vegetarian, I get it. Most medical professionals are not. But even at a basic health level, how could somebody who is on their deathbed with a stomach infection be given pepperoni pizza? Such a severe processed food. Such an unhealthy meal, and 2 chocolate chip cookies. Like, I just seriously couldn't fathom it. And, you know, anyways, on another note, like, we come to find out that basically what happens in the hospital is you kind of get swallowed. And you get swallowed in the system. So when your family members, or if you don't have somebody there, like, really fighting for you and protecting you, all that the hospital wants to do is sustain your life. They're not looking to improve it in any way or cure you. They can't do that with pharmaceuticals. That's not the job of pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals keep you alive. Most machinery just keeps you alive. So what they're doing is they're interested in keeping you in the bed, sedated, and, you know, alive, okay? So we come to find out that literally my dad got put on about 40 or more medications. And I'm not just talking like, you know, potassium and calcium and vitamin D or whatever it is. He was on so many psychological and psychiatric medications that he has never been put on before, and he has never been diagnosed with. He was on 2 bipolar medications, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, sleeping pills, and on top of that, a ton of painkillers, like opiates, and all of the other medications that were helping his internal system. Like, I just couldn't even fathom, like, how they could do that to somebody who is, like, how you can even diagnose and legally give those medications to somebody when you haven't even seen them in their, like, conscious state. Right? He's, like, totally out of it because he was so sick, and he was literally, like, unconscious. Yet they're giving him all of these medications. Like, it's fucking scary, honestly. Like, it's hard for me. It's really hard for me not to, like, get into this, like, justice mode, because I just can't even believe that you could just treat a human being like that without their consent and just completely sedate them. And let me tell you guys why it makes me so angry is because, you know, I have a very, you know, I've had a very, how do you say, like, up and down relationship with my dad, and if you've seen my other videos, but I love him so much. He's my dad. I care about him and I protect him, you know, and to see him get worse every time I visit him in the hospital, he's literally getting worse. As in, yes, his body is there alive and they're keeping him, like, functioning, but his consciousness was, I have never seen it so bad, so far gone and out of his body because he was so heavily drugged. He was not even there. Like, if you talk to him, he was in full hallucination, full delusion, had no idea what was going on, doesn't even remember the times I visited him in the hospital. He even just told me the other day, now that we've weaned him off of this medication and we've taken him out of the hospital, he's doing so much better. Like, he's already 1,000 times better just because we've removed medications out of his body and started giving him decent food and good water. He's healed so much already. Like, he's already totally back and conscious and aware. But when I was visiting him, it was frightening. Like, he was like a kid, and he literally couldn't even hold up his own body, and he didn't even know what was going on. This, I know for a fact it had so much to do with the pills that they were pushing on him. And it just makes me so angry. And on top of that, the doctors decided, like, when somebody is drugged with 40 different medications, how can you possibly correctly evaluate their state of being, right? That is not going to be the way that their body is normally functioning. Yet, in this time, they decided to diagnose him with dementia because he couldn't remember what things that were going on and what was happening. Yeah, no shit, because he's on 40 pharmaceutical drugs that he is not supposed to be on. Can you imagine what's happening to his internal chemistry of his body? Like, and the fact that they like completely scared the shit out of us and convinced us that he had dementia. And we even end up like putting him in this like lockdown kind of like memory ward. And now that we've taken his drugs away and we've like started to fight for him, he's completely clear, like completely back to normal. Of course, because he doesn't freaking have dementia, and they're just doing these crazy list of diagnoses with no basis for in reality. Like, it just it's just mind-blowing to me. And I just wanted to share this with you guys because, one, it's really weighing on my heart and I feel like it's important to tell these kind of stories, and two, I hope that if something like this is happening to you guys, you know that like it's your duty and your job, and it's possible for you to step in and change things. And it's scary and it's hard and it's not easy and it's exhausting. But when you start to like speak up and question things, they start to back away. You know, they start to like look at what they're doing more carefully. And finally this has started to happen now that, you know, our family is getting more and more involved in taking care of him again, and with this hospital system. And, you know, another story, if you guys are still watching this long video, it's just mind-blowing to me how much power, and I know most of you guys are probably familiar with this already, but how much power pharmaceutical industry has over our doctors. I mean, they're literally, I mean, my friends are in medical school, a few of my friends are in medical school, and they tell me like directly, doctors get direct profit off of how many medications they give their patients. The more they give them, the more money that they're directly going into their pocket. How could that ever be a system for health? We're not looking at the root of any disease or prevention of any disease. In Eastern medicine and tradition, like in Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, diet is like 90% of diseases and disorders and prevention for them. Diet is like the entire medicinal system is based in diet. Yet I walk into a hospital and he's eating a pepperoni pizza and chocolate chip cookies. Like, it's just the biggest red flag to show you how broken and backwards our medicine system is. And yet, on top of that, then they're giving him pills to fix what they're putting in his body in the first place. When the fuel is wrong, and then they're just loading more and more and more drugs and chemicals into somebody's system, how much that can fuck you up permanently. Like, that has permanent damage in somebody's mind, in somebody's body and consciousness. And I've seen the effects of it in my dad. Over all these years, the abuse that has happened to his body through these drugs is mind-blowing. And I just want to share something else a little scary, and you should be aware of it also, especially if you are dealing with addiction in your family. My dad, back in the day, about 15 years ago or so, like I said, he had back surgery, and they put him on very strong pain medication. And this happens to too many people. When they get surgeries, especially back surgeries, they get addicted to their pain medication. And the same thing happened to my dad. And this is not at all to like put my dad down or anything, but it's just, I just want to share the story of the system and how broken it is, because what my dad could do, and he did do when he was in his addiction, would be, say there's like a pharmacy on, you know, this corner of my neighborhood. He could go there and fill up his prescription, and then go to the same brand pharmacy, let's say Walgreens, that was usually what he went to. So he goes to Walgreens on like Golden West and Heil, fills up his pain medication prescription, and then goes to the Walgreens on Edwards and Springdale and fills it up again. They have no communication between the two pharmacies. So with the same prescription, he could literally continue to go to the same pharmacy, and it's the same pharmacy, like it's the same company. He would go to multiple pharmacies and just continue to fill up his pills. Like, this whole system is just built for abuse and corruption, and it's a conscious war, honestly, against human beings. And I hope that we can all wake up to it and start to take it more seriously, because to me, it's absolutely unacceptable. And it's really been in my face lately, and so this is something which I'm going to keep talking about, because I think it's so important to fight this fight. Like, sometimes we like to let things go because it's easier, you know, and it's like it's tiring to fight the system sometimes, and it feels impossible. But I really feel like it is our duty to continue to fight this, because it is abuse of people's consciousness what is happening here, and I myself, for one, am completely not okay with it. And to see it, how they abused my dad and the state that they could put somebody in, is frightening. Like, I just imagine if that happened to me, like, could you imagine getting in the hospital for something and you were unconscious for some reason, and all of a sudden you wake up and they've put you on psychotic medication for a disease you've never ever been diagnosed for, and you've never suffered with in your life, and all of a sudden you literally don't know where you are, what's going on, because you're so drugged up. Like, it's so wrong. And if any of you guys are in the medical field and, you know, can share your stories also, whether positive or negative, I would love to hear your guys' feedback also. Oh, and if you guys have had similar experiences with your friends or family members or yourself in the hospital system, I would really love to hear your guys' stories also in the comments below. I think it's so important to tell these stories. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to my rant. And I know, though, with more and more people waking up and looking for alternative solutions, you know, more and more that's gonna grow, and it is growing. Like, Eastern medicine is becoming huge trend in the US right now. I mean, more and more Chinese medicine and acupuncture and all these things are becoming much more popular. So as long as we continue to recognize that these are broken traditions that we're following, and they're not healing us in the ways we need, we can seek alternative solutions, which do exist. There are so many beautiful, simple, natural cures for things, like diet for one, essential oils, right living, yoga, meditation, prayer, even the other things other supplements and natural herbs that we can put in our bodies. And there's so many other options that are there, which have so much less of a harsh impact on our system and really heal us in a more effective way. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, this story time, and I'm looking forward to creating a dialogue with you guys about this. So thank you guys so much for listening. Nithyanandam.